Yo, 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 yo. What's good, y'all? What's good? Ty Butler. We here on this Wednesday. I'm in New York City. How about we head to LA? Claire De Lune. Let's do it.
What's up?
Let's
Nice
do
hat.
it. Let's do it. Thank you. I felt like it's appropriate
It is appropriate.
because there's so much happening. Now, just to give you all a little peek behind, a little peel behind the curtains, our plan today was to go full NBA schedule release. And so we're talking, yesterday, the day before, this is what we're gonna do. Then all of a sudden, I'm sitting on my phone this morning, just got back from the gym, and I see Ramona Shelbourne's reporting the Lakers got sold. And I'm thinking to myself, I thought the Lakers got sold last year. Like
Fact.
and so we'll talk about the Lakers being sold for 12 billion. The NBA schedule release, more games come out today, but predominantly we wanted to focus on opening night, opening week, and then Christmas Day. Russell Westbrook, he announces he's retiring. I'm a little bit sad about that. And Claire, I know you being in LA covering this team, some people feel like the Russell Westbrook trade kind of sunk the Anthony Davis and LeBron James led Lakers. So a whole lot to do, but we do got to start by just saying good afternoon. How's it going? I know you were busy today. What's the vibes like?
I was just talking to a friend about I feel like this is the least off-season-esque off-season in my time covering the NBA. Like I have not had a moment to breathe. Like between, we went straight from this epic finals into the draft, into all of the free agency moves, and it was an incredibly active free agent season, into the LeBron decision, immediately into whatever this nonsense is. So and before you know it, I mean, they're already releasing the schedule. Like the season's going to be back. So this was not an off season. There was no off.
So you tried to go to Minnesota to hang with some family members, and I
Hmm.
felt bad. I had to text you like, oh, Claire, LeBron's made a decision. Should we hop on? Uh,
Literally.
and so here we are. Let's start with the Lakers, because this caught obviously many people by surprise. So they're
Yeah.
being sold to Josh Kushner and Bob Iger for a record-breaking price, $12.5 billion, according to Ramona Shelbourne. So Kushner and Iger, they were both involved in like the expansion talk, getting a team to Vegas. But this is a stunning turn of events. I was listening to um, uh, George Sedano, who was hosting this morning on ESPN in LA. Ramona Shelbourne's talking about that this came about in the last 2 days, and while I trust her reporting, she is as plugged in as you could possibly be, especially with the Lakers. It's just hard for me to fathom any deal that involves the selling of not just a team but the Los Angeles Lakers and an amounting to $12.5 billion, and it just happens in 2 days. So conspiracy theories are circling the internet. What was your initial reaction when you woke up and saw this news?
I mean, there's so many the meme or the gif or whatever of the guy with like the frazzled hair with like all the like threads connecting on the board or whatever. Like that's how I felt this morning. I was just like, there are so many possible there's so many possible reasons and like conspiracy theories and like all this stuff behind the scenes, and like none of them seem like they look great. Like I don't think any of them make the Mark Walter group look awesome,
Yeah.
regardless of kind of what the motivation for this was. I don't want to speculate too much, especially with things that are like in litigation, but it seems like really interesting timing that a couple weeks ago a story comes out that he's under investigation by the federal government, and then decides to sell the team less than a calendar year after he bought it, um, to people with some level of ties to the federal government. So that is that is interesting. And it's not my area of expertise to do like investigative journalism, but I look forward to the inevitable Pablo Torre report
Yeah.
on whatever the heck is going on here, for
Yeah,
sure.
because if there's anything to find out, Pablo Torre is going to find out.
Sure
And
is.
so, look, the conspiracy theories. Look, we are not um, purporting ourselves to be investigative journalists, but the conspiracy theories out there are that of Mark Walter found himself in a little bit of trouble, and he had to sell the Lakers, and he did so to Kushner. And people are like, Kushner, why does that name sound relevant? Well, because Kushner is a Donald Trump son-in-law, and so
Well,
whether
this
or
is different Kushner, but
yes,
yes.
not Jared Kushner. This is his brother Josh. Um, whether or not that there is some, smoke where there's fire, we shall see. But obviously, listen, I'm a Laker fan. There was a lot of optimism when Walter bought the team, just because I'm also a baseball fan and I see what the
Yeah.
Dodgers have become. That not just the winning, obviously, the acquiring a superstar talent, but they're one of the most well-run organizations in all of the sport, analytically driven, and they've become a powerhouse. They've become the Yankees of the late '90s, early 2000s. And so, if you're a Laker fan and you're thinking, okay, this guy seems to know what he's doing. He employs the right people. That's what we're headed for. Maybe not, a three-peat, but getting yourself to where you're a legitimate contender year after year. And now you just get sold again. So I think the Laker fan obviously today operates with just what would I say, like confusion. But all of that optimism just seems to have now been eradicated just because like we just have no idea what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, and I mean, it's worth noting that neither of the two, majority owners, Josh Kushner or Bob Iger, has ever been like a controlling owner of a sports franchise before. Like they both have ownership stakes in like various other franchises. I think the Memphis Grizzlies being one of them, but neither of them has ever had this much power over a franchise, let alone the Los Angeles Lakers, which is arguably the biggest sports franchise in the world in any sport. So, um, I think that's I don't know, cause for concern maybe feels a little too strong, but that's certainly notable, right?
Yeah,
When you look at the optimism that was associated with Mark Walter and how he and his organization had run the Dodgers and into becoming such a winning franchise, you're now handing the keys over to people who have zero experience in this arena, essentially. And while Iger obviously ran Disney, which is a massive company, like, that's not a basketball team. And so seeing there's plenty of examples in NBA history of what it looks like when a billionaire or billionaires with no experience but a lot of enthusiasm come in and try and run a basketball team. Like it doesn't have a great precedent, I would say. I mean, there's obviously exceptions to every rule, but I think part of the optimism of the original sale last year was like, okay, now we have people in place who know what they're doing. They've done this before. They know how to run a sports team. Like they clearly are part of the analytics movement and whatever. What's interesting to me is that they had already, even as recently as a couple months ago, been making like sweeping changes to the front office and to the infrastructure. They moved the G League team to the Coachella Valley. There were like changes being made. And not to bring it back to Trump again, but much like the concern that people have with Trump being like adamant about building this ballroom when he's theoretically about to leave office for the what should legally be the last time in a couple of years. I feel
legally.
that legally and the concerns associated people have associated with that. I feel like there's other interesting red flags being raised here of like, why would you have spent the last several months like, making these decisions and bringing in your infrastructure from the Dodgers to the Lakers if there was any inkling that you were going to sell the team? That to me makes me wonder if if the reporting is correct that this was a sort of like rash last minute decision.
I don't
And if
know.
it
I'm
to
skeptical.
me it feels like there was a need for cash flow and an opportunity came up for that to happen, because I don't know if people are familiar with the sort of litigation that's happening with Mark Walter at the center of it with the federal government, but it's essentially just that he maybe, didn't have as much cash on hand as was necessary, or that as was purported or whatever. And so it's just very interesting timing. I also heard, I'm sure you've heard all these conspiracy theories about like, when the Bus family sold to Mark Walter, they had right of first refusal and they were being pretty picky about who was going to buy. And so there are conspiracy theories that maybe this was the plan all along, but that it had to get funneled through Mark Walter first. I don't really believe that.
Yeah.
Again, I just don't feel that the way Mark Walter and his company was moving the last year indicates someone who had plans to sell. Like they seemed like they were sort of laying down a foundation, laying down roots um, with the team. This seems like to me, I don't know if crisis is the right word, but this seems like we're going to learn more about what the motivations for this sale was. I don't think it was just like, oh, they made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
And
And
that's what this keeps coming back to. Like Ramona's reporting that this happened in the last few days, and he didn't want to sell the team. But it's like when you're offered $12 billion, how are you turning that down? And it's like this, when you buy a team, it's an investment for longer than
right.
10 months.
Also, like, that doesn't ring true to me. I'm not trying to like question Ramona's reporting. I'm sure she's reporting accurately as far as what she was told. But like, if you have the amount of money that Mark Walters Group has, I know $2 billion seems like it is an astronomical amount of money, but like for an investment of $10 billion to turn around for an extra 2 billion overnight, if that was your only motivation, that just like
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. And again, it doesn't make sense for you to be giving people new jobs from the Dodgers organization in the Lakers organization if you had the intent of those jobs lasting like 3 to 6 months. Like that just it doesn't add up. And I feel like we're going to learn more, over time about like why this happened and why it happened when it did. I just think, I don't know. I mean, I feel it feels really emblematic of sort of, and I tweeted this earlier too, of just sort of like the state of where we're at as a society, as a country, that, this team that was like kind of like a podunk family business, to be honest, like the way it was run, they ran it like a family business for better and for worse. For that to suddenly to change hands twice and end up in the hands of private equity within a year,
This
it just
doesn't
feels it just feels so like it just feels like such a good metaphor for kind of where we're at in society. Like,
but it
I
also
don't know.
reeks of dysfunction. And there are a couple of things that immediately jumped out to me. So what happens to Jeannie Buss? Because she was supposed to have like this exit strategy plan, and
Mhm.
Mark Stein tweeted out, Bob Iger tells Kobe Price, who's a
Shout out
Lakers.
to Kobe, that's the homie.
I think I met Kobe when he came to the Garden. I might have met Kobe.
He's great.
Yes, I did meet Kobe because he follows me. Yeah, shout out to Kobe. New Lakers ownership intends to honor Mark Walters' pact with Jeannie Buss to stay team governor. But here's the line that trips me out, immediately followed by this quote by Bob Iger, who says, if
Yeah.
things change, they'll change, but we're going into this with enormous respect and appreciation for who she is and what she represents.
What does that remind you of, Ty? Because I can tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the exact language that they were using about Mark Cuban
Oh,
in the
yes.
aftermath of the Dallas Mavericks
Balls
sale.
got sold. Yeah. Like
I mean,
just imagine you being in a relationship and like that's how someone describes your relationship. Like, yeah, we're in this thing, but if things
what if it
change,
changes?
okay.
Also, I mean, from a legal perspective, the legally binding agreement that Jeannie Buss had was with Mark Walter.
Yeah,
So
it gets
I
torn
don't,
up.
right. I don't think, to my understanding, and I'm not like a legal expert, that the new ownership has any legal obligation to include her in anything. I mean, they might for
Out
the
of
sake of
respect.
continuity and out of respect or whatever, like in good faith, they might keep her around for a while, but like she no longer has any legal standing to have a role in that organization. But I do think that the Buss family are still minority owners, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah. But
So there's that.
I also question, because you just brought this up, like they don't have experience running organizations. And I know Kushner, I think he had minority ownership with Miami. I might be wrong. It's one of these teams. I think it was Miami.
I think it's
But
maybe Miami and Memphis. I know Memphis was one of them.
I thought I heard Miami. But just for the purposes of having someone who has any understanding of how to run an operation, I think that's important. Rob Pelinka, what does it mean for him? He
Yo,
survived
he
like
made out like a bandit. I mean, somehow, like, what is it, like 9 lives or whatever that a cat has? Like, he has somehow outlived Mark Walter. Like, who would have had that on their bingo card a year ago? Like, every time this changes hands, it is in the new owner's best interest to keep him around for continuity, and because he knows how the sausage is made and like what's going on and what's running and what irons are in the fire. So like he kind of is the big winner in all of this
but
because
so here's can I just pause you real quick? Unless they have someone else in mind who they think they want to be that person, to be that overseer. Because that's the thing, like that's the big fear whenever you have new ownership coming in. It's like they want to clean house and bring in their own eyes and ears.
I don't think he's safe indefinitely, but I think he would have, like, if this year doesn't go well for them, which we can talk about as well today, but like I think that like I think the Lakers are going to have a better season than people think, but if this season didn't go well for them, like he would have absolutely been on the hot seat as soon as, this season, this coming summer. I do think that this probably bought him an extra year. Like I do think
How do
that
you know that?
I don't know that. I just think
I'm
that.
just saying. So and I'm not like coming at you. I'm just saying, like, because of this being so unprecedented, it's like who the hell knows what the Lakers could. I don't know. They could make the finals, and then this new ownership group is like, yeah, I don't know, this guy's out of here. So we just have no, we just have no idea at this point.
Right.
Sure. So I brought up Genie, I brought up Rob Pelinka. First person many people are thinking of is this guy, Luka Doncic. How does he feel about it? And so when Luka puts out a tweet earlier today, and like I guess brings some kind of I don't know, calming down of nerves. He says, "Being a Laker means everything to me. I'm excited to get back on the court and bring a championship to LA. I've gotten used to big changes over the last few years, but I know that no matter what, there is no limit to the potential of this iconic franchise. I look forward to meeting Josh and Bob so we can get to work building something special in LA together." It sounds great.
I just wanted to interject to say that I know you seem like, based on talking to you so far today, that you're in the camp of like, there's no way this came together so quickly. Yeah. I personally believe, like, maybe not in the last 3 days, but I think this probably came together very quickly. And this to me is evidence of my point, because he says in this statement that he has yet to meet Josh and Bob. So he hasn't even, the franchise cornerstone, the face of the franchise, their superstar, hasn't even met the members of this ownership group, which would indicate to me that, like, I think this did come together very quickly, and I'm sure he got a heads up about it, but like I would be really shocked if this was like in the works for a while. I think this seems like it is probably directly related. I think it's fair to speculate. I don't know, again, like this is all alleged and whatnot, but it's fair to speculate that this is like directly related to whatever legal issues the Walter Group is facing right now.
Luka's got and most Laker fans care about this. Luka's got a player option in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean for his future? You got Austin Reeves just signed that big contract. You make the trade for Walker Kessler. You're now coming into a season with, people overuse hungry Luka. But as long as you have him healthy, you're a playoff contender, and you should be a championship contender. I don't know. I'm kind of panicked. Just because
as a Laker fan.
Yeah, like there's just too much turnover and dysfunction. And also we haven't even mentioned you just lost LeBron. And so
for nothing.
That into the equation. He goes to Philly on a 2-year, $8 million contract. And all of the reporting suggests that the relationship had fractured over the last year and a half. There's just a lot of dysfunction. Like even when you try to find something that's like, all right, we're headed in the right direction, you get smacked in the face with, oh, we actually just sold the team for the second time in 10 months. So I don't know.
For those of us who have been, trying to sort of at least shine on the light on the LeBron side of that sort of disillusion, and why, like, not necessarily like anyone is like in the right or the wrong, but just sort of shine a light on like what his side of it was. I think a big part of that argument has been that he kind of swooped in and saved them in 2018. And I think this is very illustrative of that, of like the dysfunction was there before he got there. It is still there after he left. It was there during his entire tenure. Like this was and has been a very dysfunctional franchise for many years. And they were not in a great space when he chose them in free agency. And, they had the great fortune of the Luka Doncic trade falling into their lap. But like, I think if you imagine for a moment what this looks like if Luka Doncic is Anthony Davis still and Max Christie, and it's just like I think the dysfunction of this franchise has been pretty successfully papered over by having really talented, like all-time NBA top 75 level players in the building. And I think what you see in a situation like this one is that there has been this sort of underlying dysfunction all along. And there was, like, to your earlier point, a lot of optimism about this new ownership group and what they could do to sort of mitigate that dysfunction. But that was really short-lived. And, now there's like turmoil in the front office and turmoil with the ownership group. So they still have Luka. I think they're going to be really good this year.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know how good they're going to be in the playoffs, but I think it's like, I heard people saying they're going to miss the playoffs. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be a home court advantage team. Like I would estimate they're probably going to end up like 3, 4, or at worst 5 or 6. They're definitely, I don't think they're going to be in the play-in. I think they're going to be just like solidly a playoff team. They're going to win 50 games, like I really believe that. But there are seeds of, dysfunction and kind of turmoil just sort of bubbling around the surface that I would find concerning as a Laker fan, just because like I don't think they've ever really been fully addressed. Like I think there's just been a level of dysfunction happening in this organization for many years, and it's been sort of glazed over by great fortune in the talent department. And part of that great fortune is like the name and the franchise, and like people want to be a Laker. They want to play for this franchise. It's the most storied franchise in the league and one of the most storied franchises in the world. And so that's always going to sort of be able to paper over some level of dysfunction. But ultimately, like, I mean, when LeBron first signed with the Lakers, like Magic Johnson exited immediately and was like, I'm not going to be there. Like they lowballed Ty Lue and missed out on that opportunity. Like there's just been constant dysfunction this entire time. And so like they've been able to sort of overcome that dysfunction because of, strength of the brand, because of talent of players that they've had at the helm. But it does probably catch up with you eventually, but maybe it doesn't, honestly. I mean, like literally maybe it doesn't at all. Maybe they could just coast off of having really talented top end players forever.
Or maybe this ownership group turns out to be awesome. And we're just spooked by, I mean, obvious red flags of, they've never done this before. And anytime, listen, keep it a stack. You hear Kushner, you're like, I mean, what are we exactly getting ourselves into?
It's supposed to be the better Kushner, to be fair.
Yeah, right. Maybe it turns out and it's awesome. We just have to comb through, and it's how my brain works, really, like in life, where I've just got to figure out, like, why did that happen? Like I like to, when doors are closed, understand and fully comprehend like why that happened. Like there's just my brain that's just like I need to figure that out. Maybe
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe this turns out to be great. I'm with you, because I texted you the other day that I do want to talk. I don't know, it's August 12th, but I do want to talk about the Lakers' outlook, because like as much as we can be critical of them for quote unquote overpaying for Walker Kessler, the counterpoint is, what else were they supposed to do?
Right. Like the alternative was to not get a center and risk losing Luka when he has a player option in, a couple of years. So before we move on to that, I just want to add on your point of like, maybe it turns out great. There's also a version of this story where the Mark Walter situation goes south really quickly. And you look back and you're like, man, bullet dodged, because if he had been the controlling owner of the Lakers while he's dealing with all of this sort of legal trouble, like Who knows? So, maybe him stepping aside when he ends up being a blessing in disguise for them. Like, you never know, like, open mind for sure. But I just think, like, God, it's always something with this freaking team, isn't it? Like, geez,
Imagine
it's just always something.
they had sold to Sam Sam Bankman-Fried a couple years ago before his crypto fiasco. You wanted to talk about the Lakers outlook. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I just think they're going to be better than people are saying. And I understand that they're not a fully realized product yet. I don't think that's actually really attainable in one off season. I personally think that the biggest flaw of this roster is the deterioration of the relationship with LeBron James. And it is, to me, an absolute game changer if they could have gotten the deal that Philly got and gotten him for the minimum, like what this team could be. I think that immediately would put them on the tier with Oklahoma City and San Antonio, to have this roster plus LeBron. I think, like, right now they have a hole at starting power forward. Like, if that starting power forward is LeBron James, like, that is a game changer.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, trying to, finesse Jonathan Kuminga into coming or trade for PJ Washington. Like, if that could just be LeBron for the minimum, that is, I think,
I wonder though, would he have taken the minimum to stay in LA?
not under the current circumstances, but I
Yeah.
just think they could have played their cards differently. Like, I personally believe that had they managed that relationship better, that LeBron would perhaps still be a Laker. And even if it looks like they're not going to pay Jonathan Kuminga the minimum either,
Yeah.
like, so maybe it wouldn't have been the minimum for LeBron, but what maybe it's 10 million or something like that, like, I still think that would be a game changer for the sort of the championship prospects of this team right now. Cause for me, like, I'm pretty high on them. I'm pretty bullish on them as a regular season team. I think a valid concern about them is they are still a little top heavy as far as, like, if you sustain an injury to Walker Kessler, if you sustain an injury to Luka or Austin, all of a sudden you're looking like Colin Sexton is your starting point guard, or, and Quentin Grimes has to, like, slot up
Yeah.
a couple. I think the problem with this team right now is that everyone outside of those top three are slotted, like, one level higher than they probably ideally would be on a championship team. So, like, Quentin Grimes is going to be in your starting five. I think on a really bona fide championship contender, he's probably your sixth man, etc. Like, yeah. So everyone's just kind of slotted a little too high. And if there's an injury, they're slotted even a slot higher than that, So I think that's a problem, but that's not, to me, really addressable in one off season. And the thing I was the most critical of with the way they addressed this offseason was, like, all these long-term contracts with player options and stuff for people that I feel like are probably not slotted correctly to be long-term solutions. So I'm like, why are you giving Mamu Kalashvili, like, a long-term
Yeah.
contract that's, like, above market value when he should probably be, like, at highest, like, your backup center, or your backup four. But all that being said, like, I have my critiques. I think they bungled the LeBron situation. I think they gave way too player friendly of contracts this offseason. They did overpay for Walker Kessler, although that doesn't bother me because he's 24 and going to
Yeah.
be awesome, I think. But, like, I, with all my critiques of how they handled it, I still think they're going to be really good. I think, to me, like, I wasn't looking for, I think the reason I'm critical is because I wasn't like, oh, are they going to be good? Like, you have Luka Doncic in his prime. I think there's a lot of ways to be good. I think there's a lot of ways you could have gone about being good with Luka in his prime, and that they chose some valid options. I'm more like, are you building a true championship contender for years to come? And I do have questions about that. But, like, as we've seen in the past several years, our definition of a championship contender is a little bit in flux, because really what you need to be a championship contender is a second tier championship contender and lucky. I think, to me, it is the combo.
Yeah, like, have injury luck, and, like, and look, I say this in New York, Knicks fans very sensitive, especially when it comes to what I say. Um, Injury luck. Jalen Brunson hurt his left hand in the conference finals and still played. If that hand
Yeah.
is shot, like, it's over. They're clipped. Mitchell Robinson and his injury concerns. We saw Jalen's knee, like, he left the first quarter of game one of the finals. Conversely, Oklahoma City, and again, I'm not disparaging the Knicks. I'm giving them credit. If AJ Mitchell and J Dub are healthy, I think Oklahoma City runs it back. I just thought top to bottom they were the best team in the NBA. And so you're right. Like all you really you phrased it perfectly there. You really just need to be like a second tier contender and then get some injury luck and you can make a run. And I think that
Right.
that's what they have.
I think that's where they're at. And I think like to me the standard when you're the keeper of an all-time player like Luka's prime is that you should be aiming to be in that inner circle of top tier contenders every single year. That should be the aim, that should be the goal. I don't think they're there. I think that's okay ultimately. My, I guess, biggest critique with their moves is I don't really see how they get there right now. Like, I don't know what moves there are to be made on the chessboard the next couple of years to get them in that inner circle. That being said, you can still win a championship without being an inner circle contender, and we've seen that time and time again. And I think if your options were remain outside of that second tier or make moves to at least give yourself a shot,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely team make moves to give yourself a shot, and I think that's what they did. So like I I'm tepidly optimistic about their outlook this season. I am critical but also supportive of the ambition and the sort of aggressiveness. I just think like a constant theme in the Rob Pelinka era has been giving way too many player friendly contracts. And in my opinion, and also valuing things in players that I don't necessarily value. Like I think they tend towards the offensive side of the ball. They tend towards like they index towards that, and they index towards like one-sided players versus like versatile players who play both sides of the ball, which is like I that's not how I would build a roster, but they have a vision at least. I just think to me that's a little bit of an indictment on Rob as a GM if you keep having to give out these player-friendly contracts to get when you're at the negotiating table. Like part of your job as a GM is to get contracts that are friendly towards the organization or at least like neutral. And I think they've accumulated quite a few player friendly contracts, especially this year, but also in previous years. Like Jared Vanderbilt is on one of them right now. But I mean, I don't know. Like if you put a microscope on any team in the NBA and looked at some of their moves, I could come up with a minimum of 1 to 2 that were worse than any move that I think Rob made this year. Like, for example, like the Knicks ducking the second apron and not bringing back Mitchell Robinson to me, like the second apron exists for like as a sort of fear mongering tactic. It exists for teams that are building towards something, building towards the future. The Knicks are in the exact opposite situation of that right now, where they are maintaining something. They're trying to run something back in the immediate. And so I'm super critical of their decision to not retain Mitch to avoid that second apron. You look at the Celtics, like in that Jaylen Brown deal, which ultimately ended up leading to not only their biggest conference rival, getting Jaylen Brown, but getting LeBron James for the minimum. Like that to me is so much worse than anything Rob did this summer. So like you just go down the line and there's just like bad deal after bad deal. Like you can find them in any team. I think, the Lakers are just like always the center of conversation. And I'm not offended by the Walker Kessler deal at all. Like they had to, as one of my friends put it very indelicately, they had to get butt naked to get Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
And
They went
sometimes you got to get butt naked, you got to do what you got to do.
Listen, they went for it. I don't begrudge them at all. A couple of quotes I want to hit y'all with before we get to discussing the NBA schedule. NBA Today, you've got Dave McMenamin and Ramona Shelburne sitting at the desk. Couple quotes. Here's Dave. He says, JJ Redick got an extension after his rookie year as a head coach with the Lakers. My understanding is it aligns his contract with Rob Pelinka's. I think JJ Redick's probably in a really good spot here, but we'll have to see where all this goes. Now, Ramona chimes in with something I find very fascinating. She says, there's a couple names you should pay attention to. Chris Paul, very close friend of Bob Iger's. He's the sort of mentor to Chris Paul. Chris recently retired. He's available, incredible basketball mind. I don't know what that means for him, but I expect they'll be talking. And so I don't know what they're talking about. An assistant role. Uh,
Didn't they
him
say the
joining
same
us.
Isaiah Thomas with the Suns though, and then that didn't end up really. That kind of ended up being like a nothing burger.
Yeah, I guess. But just pointing out that
It's
she
just
said that.
speculation.
But yeah, I wanted to point that out from NBA today. All
It would be
right.
hilarious, I will say, if after all of the like rescinded trade drama with Chris Paul coming to the Lakers, if the way that he finally
Oh,
makes his way to the Lakers is in the front office, that would
oh my
be
God, I'd be so
hilarious.
mad. That could have extended Kobe's career. Kobe, Dwight, CP3, and Pau Gasol never happened. I don't want to demean the late great David Stern. All right, tip off week. The NBA announced yesterday. Um, Celtics Pistons 3 o'clock
Interesting.
start. Yo, I actually don't mind this. I saw a bunch of people complaining because I said like there's this rule in society now that you're not allowed to go to bed until you find something on social media to complain about. And
Mhm.
so I guess this struck a chord for folks. Here's the deal. You know what football fans don't complain about? If you're an NFL fan, the 9:30 a.m. London games. You know why? Because we love watching football all day long. And I get it's
Right.
Sunday, so it's different. But we've got a Wednesday night game to start the season. We've got Thursday. We've got Black Friday. Football fans aren't complaining about more football. If you are a diehard basketball fan, if you are a true hoops guy, this is sensational.
Right.
3 o'clock game, Pistons, Celtics. I would have gone with Giannis making his debut in Miami, but whatever. Celtics, Pistons, into Knicks, Sixers, which we'll get to in a moment. Thunder, Spurs. I like the early start. I'm a basketball fan. Of course, I want more basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are just some people who like work 9 to 5 jobs and can't watch
Yeah,
this.
no,
Who
listen, you
are
got
not.
your phone. You just pull your phone out and slide it on your desk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more just sort of like intrigued by like Celtics Pistons. Like I don't, I see the vision with the other two games. I think the other two are what I would have predicted and also great. Um like Celtics Pistons, I can't say I totally see the vision. Like I I think that could have been Celtics Heat. I mean, if
Yeah,
you want to like to me it's like if it's about marquee franchises and big stars, like why is Giannis not playing on opening night? Like I don't know. I don't really see the vision with that one. I don't
maybe
I feel like
Cade, and Cade was, I don't want to say his breakout year. He's feels like he's always been a star, but maybe trying to give him that spotlight, I guess. But it would make more sense to your point if the Pistons were coming off of this great offseason. The total opposite has happened. Like they've had a
right,
disastrous offseason.
right. And I just don't there's no like it would be one thing if it's like if it was like a Wolves Nugget situation, which is another thing I think to note is that there isn't like a Wolves Nuggets marquee matchup here, which is like they're one of the only actual rivalries in the NBA currently. But I would be one thing if there was like a pre-existing rivalry or like if it was like, Jalen Brunson sent the Pistons home a couple of years ago on a buzzer beater, like if there was some sort of history or something like that. But like Celtics Pistons is like there's just nothing there really, like not from a star perspective, not from a history perspective. So maybe they just needed a 3 o'clock game and they're like, those are, like the
Yeah,
Celtics have a big fan base and that's who they're going to play. But I would have gone Heat there if it needed to be, East Coast teams. I mean, even Cavs, like I don't know, like Pistons they don't move the needle for me personally, but
I got you. So how about this? Is it unfair to the Knicks that they're about to raise their first banner in 53 years? Like more than half the fan base was not alive for 73. And so it's ring night, it's all the pomp and circumstance. There's like a crescendo at the Garden, except the biggest story that night, at least nationally, because I do radio here in New York, it'll be Knicks heavy. But the biggest story nationally will be LeBron James making his debut for the Sixers.
yeah.
Is that unfair for the NBA to allow LeBron as he enters year 24? And then let's throw in Jalen Brown, like that team to steal the spotlight from the reigning defending champs.
Them's the breaks. That's how it works. I mean, like nobody moves the needle like LeBron. Like they had to give him like the biggest possible opening night splash because, you know, in spite of everyone's best efforts to usher Wemby or whoever else in as the face of the NBA, LeBron James is the face of the NBA, and he will be until he retires, and that's just the reality. And, you know, the Knicks and the Garden, to their credit, are the marquee matchup of like they're the marquee game of the night. And so that's where LeBron's going to go. Like I think you and I have been talking for weeks about how that was probably the opening night matchup.
Yeah,
like
we predicted this.
they were going to play someone in the Eastern Conference. It's going to be the biggest game of the day. It was going to be LeBron. Like, I don't know what to tell you, Knicks fans. Like, this is the realities of being relevant.
Yeah,
So,
welcome,
you know,
welcome
if,
aboard. Because
if you want special treatment, then don't be the number one most important game on the schedule, because that's where they're going to put the number one most important player. Like, that's
I can't, Claire, I can't even think of like of all the scenarios where LeBron could have gone. The team where it wouldn't have made sense to put them in that slot. Like Golden State would have sucked for them because it's, the time difference. But Warriors at Knicks was going to be opening night, and maybe they make it later. Who knows? But Warriors at Knicks, Heat at Knicks, like all of those teams who are after LeBron, they were going to be in that slot.
Like, I just don't know what people think. Like, what universe are you living in where he doesn't move the needle still? Like,
Oh, he absolutely does.
He just signed for the minimum as a 42-year-old, and it was dominating the sports talk shows for like a month. Like, he is the ultimate needle mover. He is the face of the league. And when he's debuting for a new team, they're going to put it in the most high profile possible matchup that exists. Like, that was just always going to happen. There's no, and as you notice, like the Lakers are not playing on opening night for the first time since he got there.
Yeah.
Like he's a needle mover. Like, I don't know. Like, I love the Knicks. I love Knicks fans.
Who you rooting for? Oh, who you rooting for opening night? Here we go. Putting you on the spot.
Impartial observer, very professional journalist. I will be just watching as a journalist with my journalist hat on, not rooting for anyone.
What's the better story? Journalist.
I think the better story is the Knicks win, because I think, well, first of all, here's what I think is going to happen and what I think is the better story. And it's the same story, which is that the Knicks win. The 76ers have a rough start to their season because they're still gelling and finding a way, finding their way together. And the Knicks have this like incredible continuity and whatever. And all the stories and the headlines and everything are like 76ers disaster, like, this egos can't fit together and blah, blah. And then inevitably they'll figure it out and get on a hot streak and get going right at the right time and like make a playoff run. But like the start to the season, I think will probably be rocky for them because they'll be like figuring everything out still.
So I disagree. I actually think the Sixers win that game.
Really? You think like the championship hangover? It's hard to win on ring night. We've seen it's tough.
Yo, there's going to be so many emotions in the building that night. Like it's going to be, and I'm not even saying it from the standpoint of it'll overwhelm the Knicks. Like they just kicked the Spurs ass in the finals. Like they won't be overwhelmed. But because of, as you just mentioned, like ring night is tough. And I think the Sixers, and this is if Embiid's healthy, like they're a really talented team, and yes, they'll have their bumps in the road. That'll happen. I'm watching that, with the Yankees with a young shortstop who's been awesome. At some point, there will be bumps in the road for any team. But I just think we get a hot, Jalen and LeBron, like that duo just clicks opening night, and I feel like that's the story.
What do you think the better story is, like to the question that you asked me?
I kind of think that's the better story too, because like everyone, and maybe it's because of where I'm stationed. I'm in New York, where it's just like, oh, the Knicks are going to win the East again, which look, might be true, but it doesn't feel like folks are legitimately giving another team a chance to knock them off. And
I think nationally they are, maybe in New York, but nationally, if anything, I feel like the Knicks are being underrated nationally, where they're like, of course they're not going to repeat. That was a fluke, which is not how I feel. But
yeah, the story locally is not the same. And so if we do get like, oh, wow, the Sixers, and look, it's one game, so we're going to overreact just because that's what we do. But if we do get the Sixers with LeBron and Jalen, and I hope, like I keep saying, hopefully Embiid plays, and it's like, oh no, man, like this is different. Like this
Do
is
you
gonna
see
be.
the pictures of him recently?
He looks like he slimmed down. Yeah,
Yeah, quite a bit.
yeah. So I don't know if that's the Ozempi or if he's like legitimately slimmed down. So I think that's the better story. We'll see though. I'm looking. It's crazy. It's August, October 20th. Just feels like it's right around the corner.
I mean, because they won't let us freaking rest. There's no off season this off season. We're just like, there's been no day that I haven't talked about basketball like all summer long, which is fine. It's great. I love
Oh
basketball,
man.
but
And then the nightcap, you've got OKC in San Antonio.
perfect. No notes.
It's perfect. Yeah. Like it's just,
That's what I want to see.
Western Conference Finals rematch, game 7.
Warriors Lakers weird. Is that just because Steph? It has to they just have to put
They're
Steph on
holding on.
TV, but
Yeah, they're holding on to that.
but like
Uh,
what it there's not even a rivalry there without LeBron. You know, like that was like LeBron and Steph was the thing.
well, maybe we are prematurely saying Steph's Warriors because if you listen to his general manager, sounds like they might be open for
Oh
business.
my god. Can you
before we
imagine?
get before we get to that, I do have uh I want to throw up real quick our hang on
We
our
also have to mention Russ before we go too, and we have like 10 minutes, but
yeah, so I want to run through this real quick. Christmas Day games,
mm,
rematch, love it to tip off. Heat Celtics
perfect.
full. LeBron returned into LA. I'd
The
like to
last two
see
are weird. The last two are weird.
I'd like to see Halliburton making his return to Oklahoma City on Christmas Day.
Ooh, that would have been really cool.
That would have
I
been
would love
fun.
that.
Second thing is this, and actually, I'll let you have the take because I was wondering why the hell is Kevin Durant not playing on Christmas? So
I
what would
mean,
have been better?
we were talking about this. Like you felt very adamant that Jokic needed to be on the Christmas Day slate. I do not feel that way.
He's the best player in the league. He has to play on Christmas Day.
I don't think that's how that works. I don't think it's about the best player in the league. I think it's about like what teams and storylines you want to. It's like a showcase. It's not really like a. It's I don't know. I
But I
also
think
like if
that
he
would be
has
a
to
fun
play, why the
exercise.
hell is he playing the Warriors? Like it's just here's what it should have been in my opinion. So first three are perfect. No notes. I love them. I I mean if you wanted to do like uh no, actually I don't want to change it. I love the first three and I wouldn't change them. I would flip if you have to like if you have to have these four as the last four, I would invert them so that it was like Nuggets Wolves because I love that rivalry and like them together. And then yeah, Warriors Thunder is kind of random, but so is Nuggets Warriors, so who cares? I personally would have found it more interesting if it was I mean, I guess you have to have OKC playing on Christmas cuz they're OKC.
OKC, Denver, and then Houston, Golden State.
That would have been better to me. I don't think the Wolves have to have a Christmas game. And if
No.
they were going to have a Christmas game, I would have much rather seen them against the Nuggets than the Thunder because they have more history there. I would imagine the thinking was we have to give the Thunder a game. Ant is like an up and coming star and we need to give the Thunder a good opponent to give us a good game. You know, like if the Warriors were playing the Thunder, for example, like the Thunder would trounce them. So I
But I
think they're
fixed it.
hoping
I fixed it. Thunder, Nuggets. Minnesota doesn't have to play on Christmas Day. I'm
I
sorry.
think
You
the idea is to get Ant because Ant is like a potential face of league
great.
guy.
We'll see you on Black Christmas the next day. Uh, Thunder, Nuggets, and then Houston, Golden State. Especially because this past off season, your man, my man, K. I should say, my man,
AD was
KD
shitting
out here
all over the Warriors. No, I think
tripping.
I'm the one who texted you and said it should have been Rockets
Yeah,
Warriors. That was my suggestion, and I stand by that. But I just don't I don't think Denver has to be included. I don't think Minnesota has
I
to be
disagree.
included.
This is the first time I've ever like disagreed with you to the point where I'm like, nah, like there's no convincing me. You're the best player in the league. You have to be playing on Christmas. And we can run through the history of like
Do we even
the
know
best
for sure that he's the best player in the league anymore?
he is. Who else would it be?
I don't know if there is a best. I feel like it's like kind of like maybe a three-way tie at the moment.
Him, SGA, and Wemby.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they all have to play on Christmas. There you go. Before we, because we got 10 minutes left. Russell Westbrook unfortunately announces his retirement. And I say unfortunately because, listen, we can nitpick the career, the legitimacy of the triple doubles, analytics have kind of like caused people to look at him differently. He was so fun to watch, man. I was a huge Russ fan. Just the intensity he brought. We complain so much about how the regular season games don't matter. That dude brought an effort and intensity every single night. And so,
Yeah.
like, while he wasn't the same player on his way out, there was some stubbornness that caused him to not be able to, compete and try to win championships. Russ, the player, early in his career, before the Lakers stint, he was awesome to watch. And so for me, it's a sad day.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool to see him have a retirement tour. But on the same token, like, I think the writing has been on the wall for a couple years. Like, I thought he was going to be out of the league a couple of years ago. I mean, shout out to the Sacramento Kings for being like the home for unwanted NBA players. Like, everybody can find a rotation spot there, it feels like. But I mean, I thought it was over. Like, the Lakers situation was the beginning of the end because that was going to be his last like real contract, But then between the Clippers and Denver and how they both ended, to me, I was surprised that he even got like another contract after that. He just hasn't been a winning NBA player for a long time. And I respect that he would rather acknowledge the reality of that than, keep being a journeyman on a minimum contract for a few more years until his body gives out. Like, I respect the way he handled it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, like, it would have been cool to see him go back to Oklahoma City and just kind of have like a little retirement.
I don't think they would have wanted him though. Like, even on the minimum.
Yeah.
Like if Oklahoma City could have had Russ for the minimum this summer, would they have said yes? Like, I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think so. Because they're not.
Can we give it until like, hey, we'll try this thing out. We'll see how it's going until December. I don't know. It just would a player like that who was like so inspirational for a lot of like young cats, through the 2010s, early 2020s, felt like he deserves better than a Wednesday. Oh, he's retiring. Like
the Wednesday news dump is crazy. Like, and the video, you could tell that they had it planned for a while because that's like a very edited and like the video has been made, So I'm like, you couldn't have done that like a Monday morning. Like, I don't know, like just the Wednesday afternoon news dump is like really strange for a player of that caliber.
The end in Denver, because he really had a chance to win there. There was no fit for him. Like, the Nuggets needed shooting. He could not provide that. They also, I mean, it could have worked because they needed a playmaker off the bench when Jokic is not on the floor. But to your point, like Clippers, Nuggets, final stops, and he goes to Sacramento. I don't know. I'm just kind of sad about how it ended for him.
I think it's also just sad to see like our peers and like the guys who we were watching, in like our basketball heyday start to one by one hang it up. Like, that's just like a weird nostalgic feeling,
Let me ask you this though. When I say Russell Westbrook, what's like the first thing that comes to mind?
Triple double.
And I too would say the same. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's emblematic. Like, I think to me, a triple double is not necessarily how do I put this in a way? I'm not trying to like desecrate Russell Westbrook on the day that he retires, but I don't know if he was ever like truly like a capital W winning basketball player. I think he's very fun to watch and like fills up the stat sheet. I don't know how much that correlates to winning and how much it ever did. So I think it kind of makes sense. But when I think of Russ as a player, like when you say the name Russ, it's like word association, I think triple double. When you ask me to like describe Russell Westbrook as a player, it's just like you were saying, like effort, energy, passion, explosiveness. Like he's one of the most athletically like explosive guards we've ever seen. Like incredible passion for the game, incredible commitment to showing up every single night. Like that's the part of his legacy that I think is like just objectively super positive and beautiful and like impressive. But as far as like, I do think there's a reason he doesn't have a championship, like.
And I was just gonna bring that up, like the 2012 finals, they're up 1-0, and then they lose 4 straight to Miami. So they're in the finals. They're good enough to be. He's the second best player on a team in the finals. And then we remember 2016. They're 1 win away from getting back to the finals, and this is post James Harden. And so what happens if it's Thunder, Cavs in 20, and they win the championship? Like there are so many, and this is why these NBA conversations are so much fun, because I think more than any other sport, unless you're a quarterback in the NFL, it's like the championship really helps define who you are. And 2012, 2016, like he's that close, and they couldn't close the deal. And so it sucks that as we're watching him corral those triple doubles, it was fun to watch. But then like it then became, what is a triple double? How valuable it actually is. And so like that stinks to me. But congrats to him on a Hall of Fame. His first ballot Hall of Fame.
Easily.
A super legendary career. He's also going to be remembered by like the Lakers stuff, I think. Like that trade was supposed to help. Like, remember how excited he was? He's working out with LeBron in the offseason. Like that was supposed to be.
I was not excited, but I do remember how excited
but there were a lot of people. As a Laker, I was like, wow. Like
Were you really? I was so low on that trade from the very beginning.
I don't know. Maybe it was just it's AD, LeBron, and then Russ will kind of fill in the gaps. No pun intended. And so like I kind of talked myself into being someone who's like, all right, I could see some sort of. I'm not selling you at all.
It was like, before it even happened, like there was rumors, like it was like, oh, are they gonna go get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner? Or are they gonna get DeMar DeRozan? And then it was like, are they gonna get Russell Westbrook? And I was like, whatever they do this summer, do not go get Russell Westbrook. That's a horrible basketball fit. That makes no sense. Like, absolutely not. I was like on shows like saying this before it even happened. Then when it happened, I remember I was like one of the more negative people about it. And I was like, this is going to be an objective disaster. This is like the worst possible basketball fit. And even me, as someone who was like incredibly negative on it both before and when it happened, it somehow turned out even worse than even I could have imagined. And I was like, ring the alarm, like, do not do this.
Well, this is fun.
There was so much to talk about.
A lot of news.
We probably got ourselves in so much trouble, honestly. I was just trying really hard to not say anything that was like could be used against me in a court of law type of thing, but
No, we use the word allegedly. And conspiracy theories, this is what the internet is saying. This is not what we're saying.
It's like I saw someone say, I think it was my friend Amin Al Hassan on Levitard recently. He was talking about like those
dropping names. My friend Amin Al Hassan.
He's a really good friend of mine. But so like he was talking on Levitard about like the thumbnails on YouTube and how if you phrase it as a question, you can say like whatever incendiary thing you want as long as there's a question mark at the end of it. I feel like we used that very well today. It's like, is this a huge conspiracy involving Trump and his like son-in-law? Question mark.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Josh the better of the two Kushners? Question mark.
I don't even know if that's the question. I think that's an open and shut case.
This was so much fun, Claire. We'll do this again. We'll see what's going on next week. But enjoy the rest of your day. I will talk to you soon. This was a lot of fun. Deuces.
See ya.
All right, that was Claire De Lune. Fun stuff. Always chopping it up with her. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Ty D Butler. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram, Ty D Butler. You can see the handle right there at the bottom of your screen. And I think we'll be back tomorrow. Shakuri Wrights of 97.5 in Philadelphia is going to join us. So check that out. But until then, peace and love. Holla at your boy. Deuces.